Alright, now then everybody, and right, welcome to the massive big Loco update that I've got for you all, as I promised. So just starting here, because all the Locos are out in the, the proposed yard area, so I thought I might as well start on the actual only bit of scenery that there is on the layout. So what I'll do is, we'll start from the earliest arrival, from when Common Barn departed, and then I'll just make my way through up to the newest editions. So yeah, brace yourself, more than I thought. So I'll get round, we'll get the first one out, and we'll get cracking. Right, and this was the first arrival a good few months ago. Now what we have here is a model by Fleischmann. This is the O&K shunter, is it, I believe, or one of them. Obviously of European origin. Didn't cost over too much, I think it about £20–30. Mint condition, brand new, hardly ever run. It is an exceptionally good runner, exceptionally good. Very quirky, obviously very interesting, so piqued my attention. The livery on it is absolutely crisp as anything I've ever seen. It is all over red. I'm not sure if the camera will pick it up, but if I just turn it to the side, you can see there we have this gold lining, along some of the body lines. And it really is a nice model. We turn it round, we've obviously got the wash stripes there, and obviously the cool little shunter bars that come up. Now usually, like I do with some of my Locos, I like to modify, re-livery, and I did have a plan to do the same with this one, but it turned up and it's that blooming nice and runs that blooming well that I haven't got the heart to touch it. So this one's going straight into the collection, and just one to appreciate. But yeah, cracking little addition, very quirky, right up my street. So the Fleischmann O&K shunter. Right, we'll put that one back and we'll get the next one out. We're going a bit bigger this time, so just bear with. And here she is, or he is. He's a bit brutish, we'll call him a bloke. Class 37. Now this is actually now the only Class 37 that I own. Quite some time ago I did have another Class 37, and it was, well, actually longer than I thought. Some of you might not even remember it, but it was the Highland, split head code 37, and I ended up selling that on for some reason. But I love 37s, and I've kind of always regretted getting rid of it, and I've wanted one since, really. Anyway, this Hornby version in the Transrail livery, heavily weathered, named Aluminium 100. I think it was £35, something like that. Again, mint condition, hardly ever run, so I snapped it up. And it is mint condition. It's absolutely lovely. I don't touch Locos that I want to add to fleets and run if they're not in good condition, and this one's no exception. So we obviously have the Hornby factory weathering. Now this is frowned upon, I know, by a lot of people. It does get slightly heavy in areas where it probably wouldn't be, as like the grills on the side. But people who know me know that I like my weathering. I like it heavy, and the Hornby weathering I have no problem with. I quite like it. So this was the second edition that turned up before Common Barn left me. And I'm really glad to have it in the fleet. It's lovely, it's weathered, yeah, it's a nice one. And with it being a big one as well, the big Loco fleet isn't overly large, to be honest. Certainly nowhere near as the the population of the shunter fleet. So yeah, it was a nice addition, and that was the second one to arrive before Common Barn left. So everything else that we see after, that's all appeared since it's gone. But yeah, that was the second one, a lovely factory weathered Hornby Transrail Class 37. So I'll try to decipher what turned up next, and we'll get that one out. Yep, right, okay, here's the next one, and I know what some of you might be thinking, another Sentinel. This is actually the 5th Sentinel, the 6th if you include the other body that I've worked on. But who don't like Sentinels? You know, lovely little models. Now this one actually came from my awesome friend. When I took Common Barn to him, you know, this was his, and one of the Locos we got out and we had running round, if you remember from the Common Barn in its new home running session. And I brought it back with me, you know, have a bit of a play with it, have a bit of a lawn, and he just passed it on as a birthday present. So it's the next one in the fleet. I absolutely love the livery, the wasp stripes down the side. You know, it's a shunter, more wasp stripe the better in my opinion. My friend wasn't overly keen on it, he was planning some body swaps and things like that with some other Sentinels. But as you know from my Sentinel body swaps and things, it's not an easy thing to do. There's quite a lot of components that you need that aren't readily available from Hornby as spares. So body swaps are not an easy thing. And it ended up in my possession. So as per the usual, Sentinels, runs brilliantly. It's just a great addition to my Sentinel fleet, and there will be a bit of a special running session coming along featuring Sentinels. I've had it planned for a little while. So once the layout's up and more to a, you know, more of a appealing appearance, you know, the galas will begin and running sessions. But yeah, keep an eye out for this Sentinel. So that was next. Right, I think I know what came next. Right, bear with me, and we'll get the next one out. Okay, ta-da! The next arrival was this little bad boy. So this is the second rail bus now that we have down at Common Barn Yard. I already have the Helgen W&M rail bus, which is absolutely fantastic, one of my favourites. And then here we now have the AC rail bus by Helgen. Now I must admit, when these first got released, I wasn't the biggest fan. I ummed and ahed about the appearance of them, and you know, this when you're used to the W&M rail bus, seeing this, it's obviously not the same, and it took me a little while to come around to liking them. But when I was at my friend's, I saw his in real life, and it was quite appealing. They were a lovely little Loco. And then another friend of mine, he's been thinning out his collection and downsizing, and this was one of the ones he was wanting rid of. So I kind of bought this off him in it was quite a large deal, including some other things, but this was the main you know, purchase within it. Pretty much brand new, it's hardly ever run it. Runs as well as all Helgen models do. It's the one with the little speed whiskers, which normally I'm not always a fan of. You know, I do prefer the full yellow panels on diesels, but yeah, I don't know, it works on this, and I think because it's so quirky in itself, that having the wash stripes, whiskers on the front, it just adds to it. But yeah, it's going to be good for serving the heritage line up on the embankment, along with the W&M. It's considerably shorter than the W&M rail bus, as my friend pointed out when I was with him, which is interesting. But yeah, second rail bus on the layout, and love it. Now, along with this, there was another Loco that I bought off him as well as this. but you won't actually see that one in this video because that one went straight into the workshop and straight into a Matthews modelling production. Now the Loco that's in question, it'll be no surprise to you when you see it, but it has been heavily modified and I'm extremely proud of it, and it is something that I'm going to be using on the Great Model Railway Challenge TV programme. So I'll show you it then after the filming and things like that, but yeah, it's one for Matthews modelling. And there was a piece of rolling stock as well that I bought with it, but we'll show the rolling stock at the end. But for the next Loco, this is it, the AC rail bus. So right, we'll get that away and get the next one out. Right, sorry, it just tickled me seeing that through the viewfinder. Right, yeah, here we go, the next one to show you all. We have Mavis from the Thomas the Tank Engine series. Now, where to start with this one? Okay, I already own the Bachmann Bill and Ben from the Thomas range. Bill and Ben, the beauty, you know, little tiny Locos, obviously based on the Porta-Par twins. And the Bachmann models of the Thomas range, in my opinion, are far superior than the Hornby range, and I don't even think Hornby produce this particular Loco Mavis. So she's always been one that I've always kind of thought I would like to own. Obviously heavily based on an 04 shunter, one from the Wisbech Upwell tramway with the skirts and cow catchers. So yeah, and I've always wanted to have one in the Thomas fleet. Now this one, snapped it up as a bargain, snapped it up as a bit of a project. It was going to go into the workshop, but to be honest, I'm not sure. This one actually turned up with no buffers. The buffers were broken on it, and the paintwork's it's alright, you know. A couple of the handrails had been a bit scuffed and things like that, so all I've done is I've touched the handrails back up with silver marker pen. I've replaced some buffers, got a set of buffers. I just made the holes bigger on the front so it was a nice flush fit and you'd never even know. And it's now back into an absolutely lovely condition. The only thing missing from it is the lamp irons on the front. There was one on each corner, but you know, if a kid's had it before me, that's expected. But I'll probably replace that with some lamps anyway. Now the chassis on this, I must admit, Bachmann have quite impressed me, to be fair. It is an 060 wheel arrangement in there, and I thought it would be the same as Bachmann's 04 shunters, and it's not. It's a different mechanism in there, and it runs a hell of a lot better than the 04s. And I was quite impressed with that. I was quite surprised. So it's been going around absolutely lovely. It's more or less mint condition now. I gave it a quick service when I got it, and yeah, you know, obviously it appeals to me with it being a shunter, and it is a unique one, and you've got the bonus of the moving eyes whilst it's running. So not only another addition to the Thomas fleet, but also to the shunter fleet. And that's Mavis from the Farquhar Quarry. So we'll get her out of shot, and I think the next one is, yeah, right, I think we're going bigger again this time. Right, so we'll get rid of her and get the next one out. Hello. Right, okay. Now I know at the end of that last clip I said to get ready as we were going to start getting bigger with the Locos, but this is actually an edit from when I originally filmed those first clips. There's just, I should say, a couple of things, maybe more than a couple, that I want to put in before we get to the big stuff. These have arrived in between, you know, me filming that and from now. So I'll say it again, before we get to the big stuff, just a few more little things. So here we have a new shunter, Now this is actually by a company that I don't own anything from. This is an old company called Model Power. They produce mainly American things, and obviously this little shunter, which is actually based on a Plymouth, so you know, an American shunter, but you know, it's not bad for UK flavouring. It's quite a you know, a common shape, shall we say, for shunters. You know, there's a lot based on this kind of shape, and this one's no different. It doesn't come in this livery. This is a respray, not done by me, done by the previous owner. Couldn't tell you what livery it was in beforehand, but he's done it into a all over black body with red chassis, which is rather nice. And actually, I could give you a bit of a clue here. Keep this livery in mind, because this might not be the last time you see this livery, that's all I'm saying. And he's put some BP logoing on it, which just it makes it rather nice. So yeah, definitely quirky, definitely different. Like I say, a new manufacturer to the fleet, and most definitely a rather nice livery. May add to it, maybe give it a little number, maybe something else here and there, I don't know. Could do a little touch up on the back that's got a small scratch on the back, so I'll give that a spray over. Runs absolutely impeccably. I mean, I've already been looking at other Locos from this manufacturer, I've been that impressed. So yeah, who knows, it might not be the last one from Model Power, because I'm certainly liking this one. But yeah, so there's the next small addition. So we'll get this one away, and I think there's 2, maybe 3 more smaller additions before the big boys that I mentioned, so we'll get this away and get the next one out, so bear with me. Right, okay, so I've got the next Loco out. Now again, I want to pan into this one because I am absolutely in love with this, and I've loved it for quite some time. And I managed to see one in the flesh recently, and it ended up becoming a new addition to the fleet, unexpectedly. I don't actually have one of these from this particular producer, and I can say that it could quite easily become my favourite model in this particular class, shall we say. So I want to try and bring the camera down and lay you down flat in front of it. If I come down a bit slowly and just bring it into shot ever so slightly, try and get a good angle whilst we're down flat on the board. We alright there? So here we have another class of weight, and this class of weight in particular is from Hornby. Now I've got a few class of weights, this could be the 5th one or the 6th one, and my 2 better models are both Batman, and I do have 2 of the railroad versions of the Hornby ones. I've got the Intercity, and I've got an old parcel ones that I beat up, and this is my first actual, you know, super detail one from Hornby, and I am absolutely gobsmacked, visually, and the aesthetics, body, it blows the Batman one out of the water, it really does. There's so much more piping on there and detailing, I can't take my eyes off it. This is the one that has the hinge doors. It also has a sliding roof vent. There is cabling under the chassis sides, on both sides. There's extra rodding. There's just so much more with it. There's extra lamp irons that I can see. It just wins over the Batman one, hands down, in my opinion. It's also in this stunning bear blue livery with the extra wasp stripes on the forward facing boxes and panels, which that on its own just brightens the whole thing up and gives it an entire different appearance. And this is also one that's named from, now is it Lyra Diesel Depot? So that is actually my first named class of weight, you know, that's a proper super detail version. Obviously it runs absolutely brilliantly. Look at it. So happy with it. It's just one that I've admired for such a long time, and to own this one in the flesh is just, you know, absolutely mesmerising. It's such a beautiful Loco, it really is. So yeah, so an unexpected addition and a beautiful one at that. So I'm going to put this one away, and then we're actually going to stick with this class, but we're going to come down again from the super detail Hornby ones to something else. So we'll get this beauty away and get the next one out, so just bear with me. Right, we're back, and like I said, we're sticking with the class. So welcome to another Class 08. 6 in all, I think. 6, 7 08s now. As you can see, this is an older one, so we've gone from an absolutely super modern, super detail Hornby 08 to a good old retro Lima 08. This livery on this Loco I've always liked. The black LMS, simple, and that quite large silver conrod on the side. I've just always admired it. It's always been a real nice combo. Like I say, it's a retro design, and everyone's familiar with it. So yes, I've always admired it, and I've always seen this one's a minter, like 20 quid, something like that, probably even less I think it was. And with it being mint, it runs like a dream. It's just nice. It's retro, it's quirky, it's old school, and yeah, it's just a livery I've always admired. So, you know, for a cheap one, an absolute brand new mint condition, I mean, you can't complain. I may do some things to it, I may not. I'm not ruling out the possibility of it featuring in a Matthews modelling, so I'll watch this space with regards to that. But for now, I've just enjoyed running it. It's been quite a joy to see it going round. So yeah, another 08, but a bit of an older one this time, and in the lovely LMS livery. Right, okay. The next one. There's one more before we get on to the big Locos I've told you about. The next one is a birthday present from the missus, quite belated, but there's a bit of a story behind how this one arrived. It's a bit of a special one, a bit of an unusual one. I've ummed and ahed over it for a while, but I decided to go for it, and it hasn't disappointed so far. So I'll put this oldie away, and then we'll get the newbie out, so just bear with me. Right, okay, the new baby's out. Right, so a little story behind this one. It was my birthday, actually a little time ago now. It was in April, and I got my birthday Loco, and the original gift was the old Lima twin pack of Class 20s, in the can't remember what livery it is now. The grey and red livery. Oh, nope, gone, lost it. And I managed to get a pair, quite rare, limited edition, came with a certificate. Turned up, absolutely brilliant, mint, loved them. One was motored, one was dummy. Gave the motor one a test, everything was good. A week or so later, I was running them, hooked them up to a load of wagons, and it became apparent that the powered Loco couldn't actually pull a load. So obviously when I tested it, and the company I bought them from, they had tested it, obviously hadn't tested them under load. So unfortunately, after a lot of humming and ahhing and to and froing between the company I bought them from, I just ended up sending them back. You know, it was becoming too much of a farce, and they went back, unfortunately. But that then left the window open for a replacement birthday Loco. Now, Hattons have got their 60% summer sale on at the minute. I think it's on Helgen items. So I was having a mooch around, and one of the Locos that is heavily discounted at the minute, it's one I've always liked. It's an extremely quirky and bit of an unusual model, but it's not one I would have ever been happy paying the original price for. But with a 60% discount, definitely. Usual Helgen standard, it's absolutely jaw-dropping. Helgen are by far my favourite manufacturer, and this particular Loco is no different. And in case you haven't guessed when I've said unusual, we have gone for the Helgen Metropolitan Bobo electric Loco. Yeah, look at that, weird things, aren't they? But yeah, absolutely brilliant, flawless detail on it. The amount of separate handrails and piping, it's just amazing, absolutely amazing. I mean, all those handrails you can see down the side, they're separately fitted. There's about 4 or 5, maybe 6 on the front. We've got the destination plates on the front, little bells. There's working headlights. And a really cool touch is that the cab lights are green, although I've got a suspicion it's actually the control board that's green, it is just a white LED, but anyway, regardless, they glow green, which is a brilliant little underground touch. Livery wise, I went for the lesser popular grey one. Don't get me wrong, the maroon and gold ones are absolutely beautiful as well, but just to keep on the quirky different direction, I went for the grey and red. So yeah, I'm well chuffed, it's absolutely brilliant. It's been running round, yeah, alright, I don't have the overhead electrics on here, but past caring about that, to be honest. You know, it's just a nice railway layout that I run what I love, and this is now one of them. So that's the birthday gift. Keep an eye out for that bombing round soon. But yeah, can't stop looking at it, love it. Anyway, so what we'll do now is we'll cut back to the original edits that I did, and I think it's the last 2 Locos that are a little bit larger than life for me. So we'll cut back to that now and enjoy the rest of the video. Bye bye. Right, okay, on to the next Loco. Firstly, I'll just apologise if these little clips haven't been in any particular order. I filmed a load prior to having more Locos to show you, and I'm trying to slot them all together in some kind of sequence, so if they're not in order, apologies. But yeah, next up is this Class 31 BR Blue. This is the Hornby Railroad version, but as you can see, it's been exquisitely detailed and weathered by the Weathering Works. This one presented itself to me, so I took the opportunity, and what a lovely looking model it is. I have actually been after a Railroad 31 for quite some time. Story behind that is I have the Lima Golden Orca Class 31, and the Lima bodies are a direct replacement onto the Railroad chassis. So there was always a hidden plan to try and get a Railroad 31 to provide a better motor for the Lima body, which we now have. But I mean, look at it, I won't be removing that body very often or anytime soon because it looks absolutely brilliant. Yeah, it might be Railroad, runs like a dream, and it looks blooming bob on to me, so no problem at all with it being Railroad. It's brilliant. Right, so, well, I'm going to try and introduce the next Loco, but to be honest, I'm not quite sure what it'll be. We should be sticking with the big things though, some big arrivals, so who knows, pot luck for you all. But anyway, hope you like this 31, and we'll get on to the next Loco. Boom, we're going big again. Yeah, here we have a Batman warship. Right, great little story to this, and the story is not finished, but to bring you up to speed so far, Now I got this from Lee at Lee's Locos. I'm sure many of you know him. Now I've bought from Lee's Locos before. You know, he produces all the sound fitting and DCC, and you know, he does weathering commissions and whatnot. But he also sells a hell of a lot of stock, and I'm signed up to his mailing list, you know, to find out when there's stuff for sale. And the other day he had this Batman warship for sale. Now the one you see in front of you isn't the actual body that came with it. Basically it was a maroon body, but the previous owner had clumsy fingers, and there were 3 or 4 marks all over the body where it had super glue, and it had seriously corroded and melted into the body, and in effect it had ruined it. You know, the body was awful. There was a buffer missing off it, and it just wasn't great. But however, the chassis and the mechanism is absolutely mint, and it runs absolutely perfect. And he was selling this off as a bit of a project. You know, basically he was just buying the chassis with a knackered body, and it was a bargain. I think for £35, you know, as it was, and obviously it was worth that, literally just for the motor and the underneath of it. So yeah, I got that from him, and obviously I needed a body for it. Now, as soon as I purchased that, there was an eBay listing which was 3 Bachmann warship bodies for a bargain price, and obviously I was going to need a body. Obviously I like a bargain, so I snapped up all 3. One of the bodies was this, an absolutely mint condition maroon. Now that's my favourite livery on the warship. For some reason I've had an inkling for a maroon warship for a little while, so to get the mint body for the mint chassis was a perfect combination. Just as a little side note, it was an absolute pig to refit. The chassis side here is actually not together with the body. This is on its own, and once you've got the body on and that on, there is some tiny screws at each end, and Batman have not lined them up very well at all, and it took me an age to get the piggy thing back together, but together it is. Now I can tell you that the body that came with it, the knackered one, is going to be in a Matthews modelling. I've already started work on it. It's going very well and I'm very happy with it. Again, as usual with me, watch out for a surprise with that. And the other 2 bodies that came with it were the BR green versions. Now I can maybe show you these if I can. Am I zoomed out, or I'll just pan back ever so slightly if I just trim the camera back. So there is a factory weathered green body. Now I am going to keep that one as, you know, a body swap if it takes my fancy. And then there was a second green. This one isn't factory weathered. This one is you know, been weathered by an owner, but that one is up for sale. So whether it goes on eBay or whether someone wants to get in touch and maybe make a purchase, there that is. It is a nice weathering job. You know, if I'd weathered that myself I'd be proud of it, but I don't need 2 green ones and I prefer the factory one. So we've gone from 1 warship, 1 knackered warship, to 3 absolute perfect ones, and obviously a warship body in the workshop. So yeah, funny little story behind all that, but a nice one. So I'll get these put away, and if you thought this was a bigger Loco compared to the shunters, we're going bigger still next, so bear with me. Right, okay, so I've got the next Loco out. Now I'm keeping this one out of shot because I'm going to do a bit of a swoop round to look at this one. I can easily say that this model is one of the, how to describe it, one of the most stunning Locos that I've ever had in my possession. Now some of you won't agree with it, but obviously for me and my tastes, you know, I'm absolutely blown away with it. It's mint. You know, I ended up winning it It's a bit of a special one to my fleet, purely for its size and its condition and its appearance, and I'm extremely happy with it. So if I just pan around slowly, because I do want to reveal it nicely, and sorry for my squeaky stool, but here it is. Here we have the Hornby Class 52 Western. Now, this is my all-time favourite livery on a Western. The all-over maroon with the yellow buffer beam. As soon as I saw this, years ago when I was first getting into the swing of things, a model railway again, and I saw one of these as a model, and I don't know who it is who produces the more detailed Westerns. I know DAP will have some, but yeah, this livery, it instantly piqued my interest. So it's my favourite livery, and obviously again we've got the Hornby factory weathering, which, God, this stool needs an oil, which I love. Mint condition, it's just an absolutely, brilliant model, and like I say, I'm blown away with it. I can't stop looking at it, I can't stop running it. It's brilliant. Now, it had a bit of a interesting issue when it turned up. Now, it is mint, and it has hardly been ever run. It was always on display, so I was expecting some flawless running. It did have a bit of a shriek in one direction, a bit like my Class 29 did. Now, the 29 I sent off for a service. This time, I did it myself, so I stripped the whole motor out of it, give it all a strip down. It did have still a slight shriek afterwards, but some drops of oil on the wheel bearings and the axles, and that took that all away. So, this Loco is in the best condition of its life. It's absolutely squeaky clean, it's serviced, it's absolutely brilliant. And it is one of the biggest Locos that I have. I would think the next rival to it is probably the Class 60 that I have, and then maybe even the Hornby single car 153. But yeah, it's a big boy. This one is Western Invader, and it's just absolutely brilliant. So obviously that runs extremely nicely alongside the Warship, being in the same livery almost. But yeah, I'm just absolutely over the moon with it. So I can't wait to get this in a running session for you all. Now, that's pretty much it. There is one couple of other tiny things to show you, and then some stock that's arrived. But as for the impressive stuff, that's more or less it. So I thought I'd finish on a high with this absolutely brilliant Hornby Western. But what I'll do is I'll get that on the main track, and we'll pull the next things into the yard, and we'll just take a look at these before we end the video. So bye bye, Mr. Western. Now, how about that for a size comparison? Down from a 52 down to the Oxford Rail Rover. Funny little thing, these. When Oxford released them, I was highly interested. And then I was at my local model shop, and they've just got a new batch in there, and I ummed and ahed over it, if I'm honest. Obviously it's your standard Oxford diecast Land Rover, which is obviously very nice, but the wheels on it, they're an odd little thing. Now, looking through the viewfinder, I don't even think it's sat on the rail, is it, properly? It is not an easy thing to get on the rails. Now, I think Oxford have made a bit of a boob with the size of the wheel flanges. Not only are they stick out like a sore thumb in the bright silver, but the flanges are tiny. Now, I know that they would be on this, but for model purposes, it's you need a degree to try and get the thing on the rails properly and stay there. But you know, nice little addition up my street, and there is actually a rail rover that's going to feature in one of the Matthews modelling. But you know, as a model on its own, it's obviously going to look nice just sat somewhere in the yard in the siding. But yeah, it's the Oxford rail rover with its tiny little wheel flanges that are an absolute pig to get on. But yeah, there it is. So I whip this one off, and then I might just spin the camera around ever so slightly for the next one because it is a bit bigger. But the next one, nothing overly special. It is the Hornby 040 Pug style Loco, which again I can't get on the track. There we go. Now this one, I've been a long time ago. I did a subscriber project vote, and one of my proposed plans caused quite a lot of controversy in the comment section. When I'd said that I've always wanted to build some kind of Alice class Loco. Now the Alice Hunslets are obviously narrow gauge, and some people, you know, thought I was a madman for even suggesting try to build one for this scale. But you know me, I'm quirky and I do what I like, and the Alice class has always appealed to me. So if I want to try and build something similar, which there is many prototypes out there very similar to the Alice class that run on standard gauge track, so I'm not overly sure why some people got upset about it, but that's what's going to be happening with this. It's a Mintner, you know, this little pug. We're obviously in the maroon LMS. It was very much a bargain, and to be honest, one of the other reasons why I got it was for this. So the fact that I'm going to have to pan out again here and just move back, was the fact that it had 1, 2, 3 Hornby 040 coaches, obviously in the matching maroon. About 20 quid for the whole set. Obviously a lovely little set. Now I got one of the Hornby 4-wheel coaches a little while ago. It was in the Caledonian livery, and I've always planned to get one and try and give it a bit of a detailing job, because they get quite slated to the Hornby 040 coaches, but you know, with a little bit of work and things like that, why not? So the fact that I got 3 absolute min ones in a nice maroon livery was just a bonus. So I'm not sure what to do with them yet. I'll see how one of the detailing job goes on one of them as to whether I keep them and do the same. But yeah, it's a nice little set. You know, obviously I need the donor Loco for the Alice project, and these are just a welcome addition alongside it. But I've showed you that last because the coaching stock ties on nicely to what's you know, the last couple of items I've got to show you. So I'll bundle all this Hornby stuff out of the way, and we'll get the next things out, so just bear with me a second. Right, okay, so the first edition of rolling stock is this. So this is the old Hornby Engineers Department clerestory coach. This again is another one that I've always kind of yearned to owning. You know, works coach. I don't actually have a works coach. Everyone needs a works coach, right? So this one's always interested me. It's always been a nice one. And my friend who I got the rail bus from, the AC rail bus, this was part of the bundle. So yeah, it's a nice one. One of the main things I wanted to ensure when I got one of these was that the actual engineering department transfers were nice and crisp. This one is. He's given it a weathering. I'm not sure if the camera picks it up, but there's a very subtle weathering on there. And I'm glad to actually finally own one for works trains and things like that. So that was the first. That's the other piece of rolling stock addition, and then the last thing to show you, keeping on a coaching theme and also keeping on a clerestory theme, is this. So it's a Hornby clerestory maroon coach. I really like clerestories. This is now the third one. I got a blood and cream Caledonian-esque one not so long ago. So there's now 3 clerestory coaches. I just love them, you know, the little venting addition on the top. It's you know, it's a very nice design. This might not be the only maroon one that turns up. I'm quite fancying the idea of a nice little 2 or 3 coach rake of these. But yeah, it's a very nice addition. Can't beat some good old Hornby old stock. And that's it. So yeah, I've been needing to get that out of the way and get that filmed, just so you're all up to speed with the fleet. So the next video that I will show you will be a Matthews modelling. I'll bring you up to speed with all that. We'll take a look at the projects that we was doing back before Common Bound departed. You know, we need to get those finished. Just to jog your memory, that was the resin tram and the resin class 05. I think they were the only projects that were on the go. And then once I'd look at those, I'll show you the 2 new projects. So obviously the other Loco that came with the rail bus that I've worked on and is now finished, and then the warship. So keep a lookout for that. Until then, I want to wrap this lengthy video up. Let me know what you all think to the additions if you would like to, and I will speak to you on the next video. So thank you for watching, and goodbye.